On tonight's Fandom United, John is back, and he didn't agree with anything we said last week. Let's get into it.
I'm Rich.
I'm Aaron.
I'm Jelly.
I'm John.
And I'm Othello. And by our fandoms combined, despite what you say in our comments, we're still Fandom United. So last week, we poked the internet bare, and we talked about the Snyder Cut, which we kind of hemmed and hawed about doing because we knew it'd be a controversial topic, but I don't care. It's the internet. So anyway, we decided
You
to
wanted to do it.
have this discussion a little bit, but John wasn't there, and so John is probably he's Tom Hanks right now, and he needs a friend. So we're gonna let him on the island all alone talk about his feelings about the Snyder Cut and what he disagrees with what we said last week. So John, what's your first thought?
My first thought is I am pro Snyder Cut. Period. Point blank. I'm a pro Ayers Cut if they do Suicide Squad.
Oh God, anyway.
From an artist standpoint, as a director, the director has a vision. His vision wasn't completed, and even worse is what you never do. You never ever do is they brought somebody else to finish his movie. After Marvel was done with him, they brought in Joss Whedon. I mean, goodness gracious. I have to admit, I wasn't the biggest fan of Batman versus Superman.
No, because that movie sucked. I don't care what anybody says. That movie was terrible.
It was, number one, because they wasted the death of Superman and they wasted Doomsday.
Now, the death of Superman, to me, is its own film. If you play your cards right, you can go from the death of Superman into Reign of the Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mean, you could have done Man of Steel.
Mm-hmm.
Man of Steel 2 could have been the death of Superman. And then Man of Steel 3 could have been Reign of the Superman. And that could have been like a 3.5 hour joint where you just kind of went through the reign of Superman and ends up with our boy coming back and laying the smackdown on whoever shows up. And that could have been in a great plan. I think they
killed it in the animated movie. So
yeah. I think they just completely missed the ball on the death of Superman. It's such a huge event in the publishing history of that character, and I can't believe that they screwed the pooch on it.
Absolutely, it was one of the most iconic stories of Superman.
And it felt so shoehorned.
Yeah,
it did. It did. But I think I've heard that the ultimate edition of BVS is the only edition anybody should ever watch. That is the director's cut of BVS, and that it is better.
It is better. It's a lot better. It's awesome. So I get it.
I need somebody to loan it to me then, because I need to watch it. People think I hate DC and hate, Zack Snyder and all that, and Marvel, all this. No. I love DC. I love the DC characters. I just want good DC movies. You do great animated movies. Maybe let those guys do the movies. I don't know.
And I get it. Snyder was on thin ice because of I can't even say B versus S because it sounds crazy to me. Batman versus Superman. So I get he was on thin ice. But then also when you have every actor that's a part of the movie saying that this is the vision that should have went forth, to me, DC got too many producers, too many executive producers, and everybody begging around trying to put their vision in when they had the plan already set for them. So I want to see what this artist had.
I agree in the sense that not that they had too many producers or executive producers, they had too many executives putting their hands in the pot and screwing with their director's vision. It happened to Suicide Squad. It happened to Justice League. It happened to BVS. I mean, it really happened to Justice League. My God, they just butchered that up because they're trying to chase Marvel. And they wanted to try to do an Avengers, but they didn't build toward it.
Right.
So the general population who didn't know Captain America, who didn't know Iron Man, who didn't know Thor, didn't know these characters, got their own movies to learn who these characters were, then go into this movie that they're all teamed up together. Oh, wow. How cool is that? Whereas WB just tried to say, we're just going to throw all these guys in here and you should just know who they are. The general populace, the normies, as some people call them, they just don't know. They might know who Superman, Batman, and maybe even Wonder Woman are, but they don't have the history. They don't know why they should be interested. Right. So to throw them all together in Justice League right away was a huge mistake.
Right.
The problem is the execs at AT&T. I want, you know what? If the Snyder Cut does well and you're an exec at Warner Brothers or DC, just pack a box and walk out. If you touch this movie and put out the theatrical release of Justice League and Snyder Cut does well, just leave. Just leave. Don't even say anything to anybody. Just walk out because they're going to get you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and the reason I say that in real quick is this, and this is rumor, but AT&T owns Warner Brothers, Warner Media, DC, HBO, all of that, right? The reason that the Snyder Cut is being made for HBO Max is that the guys who are in control of Warner Media, who control HBO, TBS, all that, want to do it. The guys at Warner Brothers Pictures and DC don't. And so it's kind of like we had that big split between Kevin Feige and Ike Perlmutter back in the day. We kind of have a similar thing going on now between Warner Media and Warner Brothers Pictures in DC over here on the other side. And it looks like Big Papa AT&T is siding with Warner Media. So, hey, you might get your Ayers cut. I don't think you will because they already had James Gunn do the new movie, but you might get it.
One of the big things I'm excited about is no CGI mustache. Because
yes. Dude, when you have people on YouTube who fix it better than they did, in the movie, and they're like, no, this is how it should have been done. It's like, come on, man.
Right.
Come on.
And Henry is my Superman. He's my Superman. I'm about to stoke all y'all. I enjoy Man of Steel. In fact, I was pissed at HBO. I'm pissed at HBO Max because Man of Steel isn't on it.
I like Man of Steel. That's the thing. I like that movie. Rich hates that movie. I liked it.
What?
I liked it because I love to see Superman cut loose like Superman should.
Mm-hmm.
That fight going through buildings, and you can't be that strong and not have a fight out in the field and just, oh yeah, we're just going to in the field and nobody's going to get hurt. No building's going to get destroyed. I mean, come on, man. They're throwing trains at each other. Bruh, that was one of the coolest moments. You hear the train horn in the distance like, hey, look out, here I come. And then it just comes out of the sky. Yeah. I love that fight scene. I liked Man of Steel.
Rich, you don't like Man of Steel?
There's elements of it that I like, but overall, from the beginning, having been a fisherman, just the whole tone of it's like, this ain't Kansas. What's going on? And like, it was just, it never felt like Superman to me. It was dark. He was broody. I'm like, okay, no, he feels like, he's been infected by Bruce Wayne instead of being the optimistic Clark Kent that we've always had. And it just didn't feel like Superman to me. And that was very distracting. The colors were drab and weren't like vibrant. There wasn't that, to trust us in the American way that was the core of what Superman was. He wasn't a Boy Scout in that movie, which I get it. They're shifting for a different feel on it, which, I think is a bold thing to do. But, anytime that you change somebody's character in a character, you run the risk of being divisive to people. So, yeah, I felt myself bored during the movie, and it made my butt hurt. Is what I always say. Like, my butt was falling asleep. I was that bored with the movie. I'm like, I should not have this feeling ever watching Superman on screen. And I was just disappointed. So, yeah, there were parts of it that I'm like, okay, that was well done. It was good. There's elements of it that I really, really liked. But overall, I was not a huge fan of it. The same thing that I disliked about this movie is the thing that I loved about Watchmen. So it didn't work for the characters for me.
No, I agree with you. I think there's a lot of DC interpretations that are not, and I'm not saying they need to be consistent, but when they make a reincarnation or they bring new life to a character, like, I had a discussion about this where probably my personal favorite DC character is the Joker, because every like reincarnation or every interpretation has been impressive to me, whereas other characters,
Not Jared Leto.
no, not that one, but for the most part they've been pretty like, that's cool, that I like their take on that. The Joker's very complex and we've gotten all these interpretations, so me personally, I'm impressed with that. But I think, like you said, like the Superman one, I'm not, it's not.
You know what? Well, you just said something about Joker. It just made me think of something, because I had a little dig Jared Leto. I would love to see a deep fake Cesar Romero's Joker from the old Batman TV show into the scenes for Suicide Squad. I guarantee you it'll be 1,000,000 times better than the performances that we saw to Jared Leto in that film. I would love to see that. I would love. So hey,
somebody please make that happen.
Please somebody make that happen.
Anybody?
No, now I'm
So-
only saying the Joker stuff too, because I just recently finally saw Joaquin. So my husband and I really like that, and so it was kind of, hey, we like
Not a feel good movie.
No,
no, it's not.
no.
But it was a really.
But it was good.
No, it
Well
was
done.
good, and talk about, hey, it was very dark. He wasn't as comedic as we've seen him in the
It should
past.
have been, because that's kind of this is my favorite play on the Joker. That's one of the reasons I loved Heath Ledger's Joker so much, because right out the gate, you knew he wasn't, trying to be funny. He was just crazy.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you get in Joaquin Phoenix's Joker, is that descent into madness. After life has just beat somebody down so much, you get that descent into madness.
Especially
and that's where you kind of feel like
talk show scene.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, his switch.
And you feel like Heath Ledger's is like, oh, okay, he's just showing you the origin of Heath Ledger's Joker kind of thing. Like, because Heath Ledger's Joker was just crazy. He was nuts.
So
Whereas,
I agree. So with the Snyder Cut, here's the one thing: if you ever notice with almost all of DC's movies, if they let the artist create the vision, it's usually a good movie. Almost
Aquaman.
all the DC movies that have sucked have been pandering, like, hey, we want to make a lot of money off of this character movies. Batman started off
I would
amazing, and then they started pandering, and it just went to total shit. And it was the same
Wonder
thing.
Woman was great, except for the CGI fight at the end. That was just bad CGI. They could fix that just by redoing that CGI. Like, they could just fix that and just redo the Ares CGI, and it might be okay. But other than that, Wonder Woman was a fabulous film. I'm looking forward to Wonder Woman 84, even though that was not my favorite point in history, in my own personal history. I'm not a fan of the 80s. Well, toys and cartoons, but just the 80s in general. No. Stop it, Rich. You just no.
I love the 80s. I do.
And then I thought Aquaman. I think they
Rich.
left James Wan alone, and Aquaman was a great film.
I even enjoyed
I
Shazam.
liked Aquaman. And you, Jelly, you
It was a
mentioned
great
about
movie,
seeing,
Aaron.
I'm sorry.
yeah.
So
Jelly, you mentioned Henry Cavill as Superman. I think it's interesting that he has recently re-signed, or rumored that he's re-signed, to be Superman in multiple films, but none of them are a standalone film. Makes zero sense to me. So we're not talking Man of Steel 2. We're not talking Justice League 2. We're talking he might show up in like he showed up. Well, it was a stunt double, but the character of Superman showed up at the end of Shazam. Spoilers if you haven't seen it.
I thought you were gonna be like he showed up in the Count of Monte Cristo, which I didn't realize until I took class. I didn't realize that was him. You had Caviezel and Cavill. Cavill,
Caviezel. But he might show up in
Caviezel.
It's too late. It's too late for him to show up in Suicide Squad or Wonder Woman. It might be like Aquaman 2, or I don't know what other movies. I don't think they're going to do Flashpoint. I don't know if they're going to still stick with Ezra Miller.
They're not going to stick with Ezra Miller.
Yeah,
So
I see recast, but
here's the other thing, though.
That might be what Flashpoint does.
Here's the other thing. Speaking of Zack Snyder, here's another rumor, and I hope this is true. And I can't believe I'm saying this, and it makes me want to throw up. Ben Affleck may be coming back as Batman.
I heard that.
Now,
too.
it's not that I hate his portrayal as Batman. I just don't like Ben Affleck. But that's just between me and him. That's some
But
stuff
it
that we
won't be
got
a
to work
movie
out.
though. It'll be an HBO show. That's what I heard.
No, rumor. Okay, so they're talking that the cats at AT&T, Warner Media, who's doing the Snyder Cut, they like Ben Affleck in the suit. They like his Batman. They're talking about him coming back, finishing his script, doing the movie that he wanted to do for the Batman, and and Matt Reeves' film with Robert Pattinson that's been held up because of been postponed or whatever because of COVID-19, not even restarting that, like scrapping that, not even restarting it, and just switching tracks and going back to the Ben Affleck Batman. I hate to even say it. I'm all for it. I didn't know there's anybody I would want in the suit less. I mean, Ben Affleck is a great Batman. I think he was a really decent older Batman. Oh, that's the other thing they wasted in BVS. They wasted the Dark Knight Returns Batman versus Superman fight. That's the fight that they really wasted, I think, in that movie. That whole thing was wasted. That should have been a whole separate thing, whole separate Dark Knight Returns movie. Have Ben Affleck be that older Batman. Yeah, who's getting ready to retire, and then he finally has this fight with Superman to just say, "Hey, I just want you to know, I beat you," and then he dies. Like, come on, bro. That's cold. That's so cold. I think they wasted that fight too. So I think that's an interesting rumor.
I want to go back to something that John said when he first started talking about the Josh taking over for Zack, because I agree. I think that was one of the things that that was the reason that we didn't get a stellar movie out of it. I think it also probably wasn't well written, and I think that's why Zack was having a hard time doing whatever. And it could have just been too many hands involved with it. That his hands were tied, and there wasn't much that he could do. But at the point when they went back and just said, "Hey, he's out. We're bringing in Josh to finish this film." I'm wondering, should they have gone the route of Back to the Future, where, Back to the Future was all but done. They were literally in the last couple weeks of shooting when they recast and brought in Michael J. Fox, because it was all shot with Eric Stoltz, and the tone of that movie was totally different. There were so many things that they had to go back and reshoot, even though it was that close to being done. Would that have been a better route to go with this if they would have said, "Hey, yeah, it's not cohesive. It feels like these scenes are shoehorned in."
Because that's what they did. That's what Joss Whedon was trying to do. That's why you
But
had Cavill come back in for reshoots, and then they did that stupid mustache because he couldn't shave it off because he was doing Mission Impossible at the same time.
And was that scene really even necessary? That scene was
the reshoots Joss Whedon did, from what I understand, were extensive. Now, I don't know if anybody else has read it because I'm a nerd like that. I read the rumored script for Zack Snyder's Justice League. I don't know who else has read it.
I know some of it. I know some of it. I don't know a lot of it.
From what I read, if it is true, Joss Whedon's reshoots were extensive and expensive.
Yeah.
Joss Whedon changed the total tone and the storyline of that film. And if what I read is true and what they're doing is Zack's vision from that script that I read, it'll be a much, much better film, and it'll be far superior to what we got in the theaters. And at the end of the day, I think that is, as a Superman, Batman, Flash, Justice League, Green Lantern fan, that is exactly what I'm hoping for.
So why he's secretly been rooting for the Snyder Cut to come out. So we're good.
I haven't so much as been rooting for it. My problem has been with the poor behavior of some of the Snyder Cut fans.
Definitely. Yeah. Because I remember that's one of the first things I said when I met you was like, "Yeah, I'm a Snyder Cut fan," and Otho was like, "Yeah, I'm not sure we can bring him on."
Yeah, like this. Yeah, this dude ain't gonna work together, but it worked out. So yeah, You know what though? At the beginning of the movement, I was all for it. I was like, yeah, release a Snyder cut because that movie sucked. Let's see let's fix it.
I agree.
But then it's the poor behavior of some of the people that were in the movement that I had an issue with, why I distanced myself from it. And then just like, you know what, these are just people that are acting poor. I don't have anything to do with them. And that's why I just kind of turned against it. But hey, who knows?
I want the Snyder Cut to be good, but I don't. What I want is I want the Snyder Cut to be good for the sheer fact that I want Warner Brothers to realize, like, the way they're going about it is just all wrong. It's completely wrong. And if they keep going about that way, then the DCEU is just going to continue to be trash. Like, I hope they realize, man, we were doing it wrong. We need to switch gears. That's
I think when I mentioned that rumor earlier about there being like two camps and there's a fight going on, I think the Warner Media guys get it. And they're like, you hired these people. We pay them millions of dollars. Let them do what we hired them to do. Whereas the Warner Brothers and the DC guys are doing too much meddling. And I think that's what we're going to see. I think if this does well, most of those people that were at Warner Brothers Pictures then are gone already.
Mm-hmm.
They're already gone. So they've already moved a lot of those people out. So I think, the last few vestiges of that crew will be removed at that point if the Snyder Cut does as well as we think, or if it's as critically received as we think it or we even hope it might be.
Then
but I need to borrow BVS Ultimate Edition from somebody who has it because I need to borrow it.
No, I have it.
I need to get my hands on it.
I got it from Redbox. I got it from Redbox when it first came out.
I'm like, Redbox is still a thing?
I'm excited just because DC's villains and how Darkseid plays off on a lot of that. Not to mention Ava DuVernay's New Gods. Even off of Darkseid, we can get his relationship with Brainiac and Vandal Savage, Anti-Monitor. That excites me. New Gods, old gods. Oh my! Yeah. I'm a newly DC fan. Well, during my life, I grew up as a Marvel fan. Honestly,
I think what would benefit DC the most is if they follow in the footsteps of the animation offerings.
Yeah. Well,
because you say, well, it's so expensive to film and this and that. Hey, the special effects are amazing nowadays. You can't. I know it's expensive, but come on. If you want to tell the story, you want to do it right. There's ways to do it.
The one thing that I don't like about the animation stuff, which seriously, it's the only thing that I don't like about the animation stuff, is that there's no continuity between the stories that they put out. They're all like their own standalone stories.
They bring it all together with the last one that they did, right?
Yeah, the ones that have that new
like
52
2 or 3.
look, I get it that they kind of started doing it where it was they were tied together. But they've been putting out great animation since what, late '90s? Well, Mask of the Phantasm and on. Yeah. So it's been they've always been really good and did really well-written stories, well animated. Everything's been great in them, except for it always bugged me that that the continuity wasn't there, and I would like to see more of that in their movies too.
If you go back and look at these last few animated films, like Justice League War, maybe like 3 or 4 movies back, like there is some continuity in those stories between those, and they have that new 52 look and all of that, but there's a reason for it. In this last movie, this last Justice League film, the Apocalypse War film, the Justice League Dark, that film kind of brings it all together, ties it up in a bow, and then the ending is I can't wait. The ending is such that I cannot wait, because I don't want to spoil it for you guys that haven't seen it yet. I can't wait to see what Warner Brothers Animation does next. I could care less what Marvel Animation does because they haven't done anything yet to impress me. But I cannot wait to see what Warner Brothers Animation comes up with next, because the ending of that movie just, man. I know people who are going to comment, they've already seen it and they might spoil it for you. I won't do it. but people that have seen it will probably agree with me that whatever's coming next from Warner Brothers Animation is going to be amazing. And I I think I think if AT&T plays their cards right, DC and Warner Brothers could maybe gain ground on Marvel in this next coming season of films. I really think that Marvel is getting ready to just shoot themselves in the foot with a lot of things that they got going on in the next set of movies. But
So, John, you got 3 minutes. Give us your final take.
Bring on the Snyder Cut. I was
you're
about
not
to say
getting a
something
haircut.
personal.
Don't ask for it.
I was about to say something. Also, just people just let's take care of each other. A lot
Big
of stuff
facts.
going on in this world right now. Yeah, it's been an emotional week for everybody. So this is gonna be an archive one. I think this was a good talk and conversation to get our minds off of the craziness that is happening around in our country right now. So.
And one last thing I wanted to say is, based on our last video, real quick, somebody was talking about, we're fandom divided, we're not united, we're not speaking for everybody. That's not the point of us. We're not calling ourselves fandom united because we're saying that all fandoms across everywhere are united in one vision and speak with one voice, and we're that voice. That's not what we're saying. We're saying that we have all kinds of different fandoms that we all love, whether it's anime or Star Wars or Star Trek or DC, Marvel, or sumo wrestling or whatever it is that Jelly's into. But,
Competitive
but
eating
regardless of that, regardless of all our various fandoms, we can come together and act like human beings and still be friends and still discuss stuff like human beings without tearing each other apart and without being nasty to each other and disagree and still love each other. That's what fandom united means. And if they don't get it, tell them F you. We'll see you guys next week. Don't forget to like and subscribe. We love you. Be good to each other.